If we have a battery and you get 100% every single day, I feel like the summers especially, it's less energy. You know what I mean? Because I don't have that autonomy to do things for myself. And when you start off with less patience, less time for yourself, you do fewer things for yourself. It just makes it so much easier for the battery to go to zero. I feel like my battery's on 100% when I'm taking care of myself intentionally.
Somehow we believe that we are supposed to, I'm using air quotes, supposed to take care of everybody else instead of ourselves. It's like, no, we're supposed to teach our people to take care of themselves and build their own batteries. Welcome, Kim Newlove, my friend, my Medipreneur colleague. I'm so happy to have you on today's episode of Minding Your Minutes, and I'm really appreciative that you took the time. So we're going to talk about time, but I wanted to start with how we know each other. So we met at Medipreneurs in 2019, I think. So you were just getting started with your podcast, or maybe it's 2018, I don't remember, but you were just talking about this concept, and I was fascinated by you of this pharmacist voice idea, and I kind of know more about this person. And since then, we've seen each other at meetings, and you always interview us. And I thought, well, why don't I turn the tables and talk to Kim about her well-being and her journey? And so thank you for agreeing to be on today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. And so I know that you're a busy mom, a busy entrepreneur, and I'd love to know, just kind of kicking it off, how do you have time and space for yourself in the midst of all of this?
You ask the easy questions, Bridget.
It's going to get worse.
There are a number of things. I have watched your YouTube podcast, and I know that you've been on my podcast, and we joked about this YouTube podcast being a bit of a confessional. So with that in mind, I don't have all my stuff together, to be perfectly honest. When people look at me and they see the public Kim, please know that there are some things behind the scenes that I don't have together. But as far as things that I intentionally do, I keep a positive mindset, not all the time, but I try. Mindset is very important. Therefore, that's part of my role as taking care of myself. I need to have a positive mindset. Prayer and gratitude are definitely important. I am not fastidious about it or structured about it. However, when I do pray, I am a Christian and I am Lutheran, if anybody's wondering. But I remember somebody telling me that you just need to talk to God like he's a friend. And I feel like opening with gratitude and thanking God for food 3 times a day, the roof over my head, clothes on my back, food on my plate, and the hope that, the world's going to get better. Those are all things that I pray about routinely. Prayer is definitely part of my self-care routine. Massage twice a month. In fact, right after this, I actually get to go for a massage, which is great. I found that massage helps with my muscle tension dysphonia. I have a little bit of tension in my throat and it affects my voice. Yeah. When you and I connected, I think in Cincinnati, Bridget, we were talking about breathing exercises. We were doing breathing exercises. And I mentioned that massage therapy has helped with my neck muscles. There you go. That's part of my self-care. Exercise is part of my self-care routine. I am not the buffest person in the world. You don't have to be, but to take care of myself, exercise is definitely part of that. I try to go 5 days a week. I try to swim twice a week with a group. Group exercise for me is awesome. Love it. And then my husband and I, we take turns going at 5 a.m., 5:30, 6 a.m., 3 days a week. That's part of my routine as well. Swimming and then going to the gym where I do biking, walk, elliptical, weights, all that. And my people are there. I don't know about you, Bridget, when I go to a gym, I see the people that are always there at the same time as me. And that makes me feel like working out. That's my crew. That's part of how I take care of myself. I show up and I see my people and I feel like working out. I also do a little bit of journaling. I have a ton of spiral bound notebooks in that general direction of my office. They are, for me, a lifesaver. I feel like I get to download my brain onto a piece of paper. And when I say journaling, this isn't just feelings, emotions, gratitude. This is 3 different categories. This is places I need to be, projects I need to do, and communications that I need to be part of my life. And I keep track of my life on there. And then I go back over a couple weeks' time and I balance it like a checkbook.
Oh, I love it.
That helps me take care of myself and just let my life be on a piece of paper and not all over my head. I love that. And then one thing that I do very rarely that I would like to do more of is I have that aura ring on my finger, and there are meditations on my smartphone. Yeah, you got it. We're twins. We're Twinkies. And on my phone, I have the Aura app and they have meditations. Occasionally, I will do one, and I love to see the data from my ring to show that my heart rate has slowed, my breathing has slowed, and that some sort of physiological response has come out of it. I love that. Sometimes my son with autism will sit next to me and listen to the meditation too, without moving, which is really cool. It's hard to get him to sit still. He likes it too. Those are just some of the ways that I take care of myself. Thanks for asking.
Oh my goodness. So if I were giving you scores, there are so many important categories that you hit there. So a lot of times I talk to people in lifestyle medicine, and you just kind of went around the wheel of I'm taking care of my body, I'm taking care of my mind with these, this journaling practice, and you actually have a balancing perspective. You meditate. And the other thing that people forget about all the time, they take care of their mind and their body, and they kind of pay attention to their surroundings with their people, but you pay attention to your spirit. So that is important with that prayer practice and the really intentional connection. And I suspect, you didn't say it overtly, but I suspect some of the work that you do is also nourishing your own creativity.
I suppose so. I love seeing my own handwriting. I know that sounds crazy. Do you mind if I jump in here and talk about that for a second? Graphology is a hobby of mine. That's handwriting analysis. I can actually tell how I am doing based on my handwriting.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Isn't it? Yes.
I probably need to have a sidebar conversation about how I'm doing based on my handwriting.
When you write really heavy, you're either angry or you're being super intentional. My handwriting almost always is super heavy. So I don't think it's necessarily an angry thing, but I found by learning about myself, personal development, that I feel like I want to be understood. I want very badly to be understood. And I think that comes out in my handwriting. But when my handwriting is smaller and the sentences are shorter, it means that I'm in a little bit more deliberate space and I'm being more careful. And I'm not as happy. When it's loopy and large, it's happy. Anyways, I love graphology. So the journaling is actually kind of something that gives me feedback about myself.
No, I think that's fascinating. You've got the data from the meditation practices where you're looking at your physiological data. And then you're also, with your handwriting, also looking at almost your psychological data of how am I doing? I'm curious, do you notice if that translates into whether you're engaging in your self-care practices? Does your life get bigger and smaller as your handwriting does?
That's a good question. I haven't intentionally sat down and thought about that. However, in retrospect, I'm trying to think. You're wondering if it seems like I have myself a little bit more organized when my handwriting's more organized. Is that kind of what you're asking?
Kind of, but it's more about the expansion and contraction. That's what I'm curious about. You've got these practices that seem to serve you. And you mentioned you did kind of this check and balance review of, how's it going? What's happening? And I wondered if the reflection is like, I need to do more of this because I'm shrinking in some way, or I need to do less of this based on your handwriting. That was just a curiosity.
Okay, I get it. I think that when I don't have enough self-care time, it is reflected in my handwriting, basically. Or you can tell it in my personality. When I don't have much time, the comments that I make in my journal are a lot shorter. The information is less detailed. I would say the handwriting might be sloppier. If I've been writing in the car, Who else has written in the car and their handwriting looks like trash? That's me. You can see certain things. Yes, the T's aren't dotted or crossed the same way. The I's aren't dotted as exactly. Yeah, I'm a little bit more scattered sometimes. Yeah, I can tell that in my handwriting. And when I'm super happy and I've got way too much time on my hand, I'm journaling. When I'm watching television at the end of the day or something, then you can tell it's just really big and loopy and I have to go to a second line because it's so big. Yeah, I can tell things about myself. Sure. I guess when you put it that way, I can tell things about my self-care and the amount that I've done by my handwriting a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I'm interested in the energy. And so I can tell it in my energy level. But I've never thought about correlating it to my handwriting. And so now when we get finished, I will go down a rabbit hole of what does this look like? So thank you for what's next there.
You're welcome.
What happens with your energy? Can you tell some difference in your energy level based on whether you're doing these practices or not?
Absolutely. Yes. Summers are very difficult for me because my kids are typically home and they're around me. My schedule has changed. I have less autonomy. Therefore, I make choices that help them instead of helping myself. I think a lot of parents do that. I'm sure your viewers right now are like, yes, summers, I love my kids, but when school starts, I love that better. I love the autonomy of being able to choose what I do. In the summers, my energy level is different. I feel like if we have a battery and you get 100% every single day, I feel like in the summers, especially, it's less energy. You know what I mean? Because I don't have that autonomy to do things for myself. And when you start off with less patience, less time for yourself, you do fewer things for yourself. It just makes it so much easier for the battery to go to zero. I feel like my battery's on 100% when I'm taking care of myself intentionally. I hope that helps you understand a little bit about me.
Absolutely. I use that battery analogy every day. And what I find so interesting in your comments is somehow we believe that we are supposed to, I'm using air quotes, supposed to take care of everybody else instead of ourselves. It's like, no, we're supposed to teach our people to take care of themselves and build their own batteries. And yet we all do it. There's such a push-pull of, do I take care of myself? Do I take care of these people? It's a challenge. And so for anybody to say they all have it figured out is no. I think we do the best we can every day with the capacity and the battery that we have.
Right. And every day I don't always get the time to spend on myself that I want to. And I have to, with the mindset, I have to just let it go. Have a short memory about it is how I think of it. Yeah. Have a short memory about it, kind of like a baseball player that strikes out. I'll get a chance to swing tomorrow. It's okay. That's how I think about it.
Yeah. And so, and I love this idea that you start over with a fresh battery every morning. And
I would agree.
You get to choose what you do with it. And so how does that translate into how you work with your kids and their batteries?
I don't think I've taught my kids about their own batteries, but I've told them that, okay, my battery's like this. I've told them that before. Yeah. I have two kids. My younger son is 18. His name's Derek. He's off at college right now, just left for the University of Cincinnati. He's studying engineering. I have a 20-year-old son who's actually still in high school, has autism, and needs a lot of help. I'm actually his official caregiver. I'm his guardian, according to the probate court. So if you can imagine, I've got kind of like two species of children. And I would say that I've never had the deliberate talk with them about their own batteries. But I am of the mind that there are steps to independence. And when I see teachable moments, I try to jump in. But I don't want it to seem like I'm teaching. And we all have to deal with our kids' different personalities. I have a kid who's a challenger, an Enneagram 8. I am an Enneagram 8 as well. And I know that me telling him stuff doesn't always work. But if I can come to agreements about what it is that is important to both of us, and we can agree on that, I can challenge him to come up with a plan to get this thing done that will achieve the thing that we have agreed is important. I hope that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely.
That keeps my battery a little closer to 100% because then I'm not fighting with him. I've made an agreement with him and it's up to him. I put the onus on him to figure it out. And kids have batteries that don't die as quickly, I tell you.
No, they don't. And
So
they're
much
charged
energy.
by different things.
They are charged by different things. My son, Derek, is very social. He gets his energy from people. He also gets his energy by sleeping in until 10, 11, 12, which teenagers love to do. And I want him to have that normal childhood. Therefore, I let him just go ahead and sleep. But we come to an agreement about when it's time to get up, when he needs to be downstairs, and what he needs to do that day. It's kind of on him to have his own battery, but I try not to shrink mine while he's going through his battery cycle.
Yeah, because I'm sure you notice, and I do too, when my battery shrinks, I'm not showing up as my best mom self or just my best human self. Yeah, it impacts the relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my older son, Craig, who has the autism, I have no idea what his personality type is because it's hard to get information from him. But as far as him and his battery, I try to just make sure that his wants and needs are taken care of throughout the day. And I don't, of course, talk to him about battery. I don't know if he would understand that, but I would say that I love him, but he shrinks my battery more than anything because providing care to another individual in addition to myself, it's a larger burden energy-wise, right?
Yeah. And thank you for saying that, because I think we tend to be in this like everything is rosy and perfect all the time social media world. And that's just not true. I mean, there are things that are hard and that do shrink our battery. But I think it's so fascinating to figure out how can I connect? How can we connect in that way? Because even though you may not have the definition of the personality, there is one. It's just a constant evolution of how do we figure out what that is. What is the response? So I have an 8 Enneagram and I am a 9. So
you're a 9?
I'm a peacekeeper. And so the challenger, storyteller, performer child that I have we're really opposite, and yet we still try to figure each other out. And so she's 21 and we're constantly doing this dance of navigating what does she need and what do I need, and how do we understand each other so that we're not just in a ball of fur, because that's our other, option is just to try to fight about it and win. Because she is definitely a different personality than I am. And so it's fun to just navigate every day. I'm curious about, how do you know when you're not building your battery? What's your first marker?
I feel disgruntled.
You're a disgruntled employee in your own house.
Yeah, I have feelings. I get the feels. When I'm not taking care of myself, I feel like I'm not sleeping well at night because I haven't expended the physical energy that I need to in order to feel tired. I feel emotionally tired, but not physically tired. And it's a restless feeling. I would say my mindset goes a little dark. I get kind of negative. Downward spiral. I think you're signing to me there. Yes, I would say the prayer is kind of unaffected. We try to pray at meals, and when I hear ambulances, I'm praying for the person in there. I'm a little bit of an eclectic prayer. I pray for all kinds of stuff throughout the day. I would say the journaling, sometimes I fall behind in my journaling. When I am not taking care of myself, I fall behind in my journaling. And doing an aura ring meditation is the last thing on my mind when I'm not taking care of myself. And sometimes I have to cancel my massages. My voice gets affected and I can hear it. I can hear in a podcast episode or an interview that my voice does not sound as healthy. I know that's probably a unique thing for somebody to really know their voice well enough to know when they're not doing well based on how they sound. But I would say that's a sign as well when I'm not taking care of myself.
Yeah. And what's the first thing that you do to kind of get yourself back on track?
Okay, I'll just pick one because I think this is probably correct. Journaling. Okay. Because I feel like it all starts in your mind. And if you can just sort out what's going on in your mind, it's easier to feel like you are as okay as it looks like on paper. A lot of people say that things look good on paper, but they feel differently. Sometimes they're as okay as they look on paper, one of the things that I would say then that I do is I get it all out on paper so I can look at it and say, well, objectively, this really isn't that bad. I know I feel crazy, but it's really not that bad. I just need to do this, this, and this. This is my highest priority. Let's go.
Yeah, that's interesting. So you're using the kind of rational data to say, here's what I need. And then you're bringing in your body and your feelings and all the other pieces of you. Yeah. I think there are people oriented in different ways. If I don't get on my yoga mat when I start feeling crazy, then everything starts to fall apart. And so I get at it from the body. It hasn't always been that way, but that's my sign. I need to be on my mat, probably on my forehead. It looks, my prayer looks a little bit different because I'm on my forehead. Please help me. Please help me. Please help me. But I think it's the same thing. I tend to incorporate that conversation during the day. But I know I'm in trouble when I'm on my mat, on my forehead.
That's really interesting. Thank you for sharing that, because that just shows it can look different for everybody.
Yeah. And it just depends. I really do believe it depends on how you're oriented, body, mind, spirit. There's different ways. And thank you for sharing your practices and a little bit about what your home life looks like too, because there are lots of parents that tune in, and I think we're always doing the best we can juggling those balls and really trying to let your kids go and be whoever they are. Yeah. I see you nodding your head of like, absolutely. It's a challenge to know how to help them be who they are.
Yes, but it's important to move in that direction. Mm-hmm. That's why I said earlier, steps to independence. It doesn't happen all at once. It's not like we have them physically in our house, we feed them, clothe them, make sure they go to school, and then someday you get a pair of scissors and you cut them loose. It's steps to independence. And you and I have kids that are almost exactly the same ages. Wow. You know these things, but for anybody watching who's got a younger child, just pick one thing and work toward it, whether it's them being responsible for putting their laundry away in piles on a bed, or emptying a rack of the dishwasher, or taking the trash out, or the recyclables, or bringing the bins in, whatever it is. I know those are just household tasks, but getting kids to take responsibility takes things off of you, and giving them some space, letting them fail is great while they're still in your house, because once you cut them loose and they're out there in the world, your job is kind of done, and you just have to hope you did the right things. So do the right things now. It's steps, definitely steps.
It is steps. And I think for us too, I mean, I kind of feel like we're parenting ourselves every day with what steps do I need to take, to be a better version today. So I'm not sure we ever get through the parenting thing. Regardless of when you actually have kids, it's just, this is our job.
Yes. Well said, because we have to break things down so that they're doable for us. Just because we're adults doesn't mean we know how to do all the things. We have to take something, often things we've never done before, and figure it out. When you put it down, when I put it down on paper and I look at it, it's just not as scary. For some reason, my mind interprets things differently, but on paper, you read about things. We're pharmacists. You read about a really scary infection, a staph infection or something. On paper, it's very objective. They have a fever and they have a positive culture for this. This is the antibiotic. They take it 3 times a day, IV, switch to PO, they're ambulatory. They're cured 14 days later, whatever. On paper, not a problem. But in the patient's mind, it's like, and sometimes we're the patient. And we just need to remind ourselves that we need to just break things down into little steps, and they're doable. Every day, we have to do these things for ourselves. And I do feel like as I get older, it is harder. I'm 45 years old now, and I feel like my energy is just different. So I need to take care of myself in different ways. In fact, I'm actually going to try a Pilates class coming up. Yes, they may be part of my self-care routine at some point.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you, like, what's coming up for you that you've always wanted to try, or what else is on the docket for the rest of 23 for you?
Well, thank you for asking. I would say I would like to do more of these meditations intentionally, maybe even just one a week. So I've got it on my schedule. and doing it with my son would be great. I would like to try yoga. I want to be more like Bridget.
Come
And I
on
do
down.
want to. Yeah, I know. It would be so nice if we could live geographically closer to each other. I'm in Ohio, you're in Arkansas. Not going to happen, but if I ever visit, I will be knocking on your door with my yoga mat. But I would say I want to try yoga. That is something that I've only tried one other time. And it wasn't my thing. I was more into intense stuff, spin class, lap swimming, training for triathlons. 10 years later, I've slowed down a little bit. And I have a friend from Toastmasters who is a yoga instructor. His name's Joe, and he's just very inviting. So I feel like now is the time to try that. And a friend of mine is a general manager of a Pilates studio here in my town. I feel comfortable going to her and trying a class at her studio. So now's the time to try that as well. I think I like to grow and try new things. So what's next for me is growing.
Yeah, no, that's fabulous. I can't wait to hear what you think about that. I love both Pilates and yoga. And I was curious, in your bio, I noticed BMX biking. Say more about that.
Actually, okay. I get really excited about motorcycles. So awesome. I'm sorry in advance if I start talking really fast. I am actually into motorcycles in general. I own a BMW C400X motorbike. Oh. It is classified as a scooter. It's actually not a BMX bike, although I have done dirt biking. BMX is like, bicycle riding where you do the tricks. That's all right. That's all right. But you had the letters right. BMW, and there's an X in my model number. So you kind of had the letters right. But I do absolutely love to ride motorcycles. I'm going to tone this down. I am on bike number 5. I've had 3 Hondas, 1 Kimco, and now I'm on a BMW. I would like to have a Scrambler Ducati next. In general, I like to have small engine bikes, but the Ducati is going to be a little bit higher. I think it's an 800. I like 700 and lower. I just like small engine bikes. I do not like road racing or going fast. I just like something for around town and the Fahrvergnügen. If you remember that commercial, the VW Volkswagen commercial. Yeah, so it's the riding enjoyment. So I just enjoy riding around town and from my town to the next town over, just for a ride to clear my head. I would love to ride with Lauren Castle sometime. She has a Harley. One of these days, I would like to own a Harley. But yes, motorcycles are a hobby for me. I like to go to bike shows. I have friends that ride bikes. It's fun.
Yeah,
awesome.
It is. I had a previous life a long time ago with my then husband, who had all sorts of bikes, and it represented freedom for him and adventure. And so I was not raised with bikes, and I was a little bit afraid, but there is this sense of freedom that comes with that, and a little bit of danger, and a lot of, in my case, rebellion, because I wasn't allowed to do it. And I was like, yes,
you go, girl, get on the back of that bike. So I know that's in the past, but that's fun. I'm glad to know that about you.
And I haven't ridden in several years. And I will say that I would like to ride with Lauren Castle too. So that sounds like fun.
You get on the back of hers and I'll ride beside you guys.
Yeah. So what's the value for you? I mean, the like deeper value. Is it freedom or fun or adventure? What's driving that?
It started with my bicycle when I was younger. I grew up in a small German farm village in Northwest Ohio. And I say German farm village because the people from my dad's family that immigrated from Germany came to this town, a lot of people from the same town. And when they settled, it was like German culture. And it was a very, I don't want to say stoic community, but it was like everybody knew everybody. They were in each other's business and you shouldn't step out of line type of thing. There was not much to do. We didn't have air conditioning. So having a bicycle when I was growing up was freedom, yes. And we would go visit friends or go to the pool. It was transportation. So it was freedom, transportation, getting away from all these people who are always watching you and judging you and, like they do in your town, small village. I went to pharmacy school, came out, had a friend who grew up with motorcycles and dirt bikes. It's a girl, and she and I had lunch together right next to this motorcycle dealership. And I said, man, I've always wanted a bike. And she said, why don't you go in there and check them out? I bought the bike because I just love being on two wheels. I bought a bike after going out to lunch with a friend who was also a woman biker. And since then we've ridden dirt bikes together and never motorcycles, just dirt bikes on her property. And I've just enjoyed it. It's enjoyment. It's riding enjoyment. It's farfignugan.
That's so cool. Yeah. And there's probably a lot of benefit that comes from that. So I'm going to give you lifestyle medicine points for your motorcycle.
Okay.
I love that story too. Thank you for just sharing what that represented for you as a child, because there's probably something that still nourishes your spirit there. That's much bigger than just, it's cool and I get to ride my bike.
Yeah, I would say it nourishes my spirit, but I've always liked two wheels. And I think I started off as a child liking two wheels.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I've never thought about the symbolism. Thank you for asking.
And I wonder if there's something about social connection there too, because it has been, you've been brought into it by friends. And you and your husband do this together? Is that part of it?
No.
Oh, no, even cooler.
He does not ride. No, for me nowadays, it's transportation, but it's transportation I truly enjoy.
Yeah.
When you think about getting in a car and going somewhere, it's just a function. You're going from point A to point B, but why not enjoy it? That's why I ride.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to ride to my massage on my bike,
awesome.
in fact.
No, that's fantastic. And so I was looking for a connection to joy, and there's so much joy in all of that. And I love that you have that practice. So we'll connect with Lauren afterwards and figure this out.
Maybe Lauren and I should just drive to Arkansas on our bikes. That's
Yeah,
good solution.
For my next retreat, you and Lauren can bring your mats on your motorcycles.
Where's this retreat?
It'll be here in Arkansas.
Oh, okay. I know it's in December, right?
Yeah,
have you set the date yet?
December. So more detail to follow there. So is there anything else that you want to tell us just about how you keep this battery built? If you had to give somebody advice.
I would say continue to grow, have a positive mindset, do things that feed your mind, body, and soul. I think you put it really well that way. For me, I have my things. I want you as the viewer, the listener, to know that whatever fuels you, that's right for you. Don't compare yourself to others, because what fuels you might not fuel somebody else. It might stress somebody else out. You do you. There you go.
Yeah, no, I love that. You do you. And then the other side, and we didn't talk about your business, but I would love for you to just say what's next for the Pharmacist Voice for 2023 and beyond. What do you want people to know about that?
Thank you for the opportunity. I have a business. I am a pharmacist, voice actor, and podcast host. And I would say that if you want to check out my business, go to thepharmacistvoice.com. What is next for the business? I am working on helping pharmacy professionals plan podcasts. That is something that's kind of new for me. It started with an online course, and there has been interest in people taking an online weekly class until they get their podcast up or until they decide this is not for me. And there's been interest in people wanting one-on-one podcast launching. And I've not done that yet. I have helped many people with their podcast launching, but pharmacists they've all been pharmacists. Mm-hmm. They're all so smart. They've eventually figured it out by themselves. I just am that person that reaffirms you're on the right track and all that. So I'm wondering if that might be easy for me. I don't know, but that is what's next for me. A lot of podcasting stuff, voiceover stuff. I plan to start working with my medical narration coach again and booking more jobs. There's a lot of opportunities out there, but there's been some writers' strikes and actors' strikes, and that changes the pool of people available for projects. I need to work with a coach again to find out how I fit into the mix. And I need to also work with previous clients and hopefully narrating at least one book this year. That's what's going on with me.
Awesome. I can't wait to see how that course unfolds too, because I know there's a lot of interest in our community in pharmacy in kind of figuring out what's next for the profession. And we need that voice to be able to do that. So I have no doubt that next venture will be successful, and I'll be excited to promote that in any way that I can. So that'll be fun.
Thanks for the opportunity to mention it today. Yeah. If anybody's interested, go to thepharmacistvoice.com.
Yeah, awesome. Well, Kim, I am aware that you have a massage scheduled and it is next, and you're going to ride your bike to get there.
Yes, ma'am. Very good job listening.
Yeah. So thank you so much for your time and your energy and the really thought-provoking conversation. I appreciate it deeply, and I will look forward to connecting again soon.
My pleasure. Thanks again for having me.
Thank you.